The only game that wasn't terribly interesting was the Heat because they did what you sort of expected them to do.
Well, actually, Al Jefferson was just a beast.
He's a great player.
Beast.
Great player.
And then he hurt his plantar fascia, and then it was over. Because he was hobbling up and down the court. But before that, I didn't realize how big he was. He's an enormous man.
Yeah, he's huge.
And he's quick.
Now he's like he puts on, it looks like he's doing low post drills.
Yeah.
You know? Like you're gonna video it and the kids are gonna study it at camp.
Yeah. There was one very telling play right after the injury. He got the ball on the left low blocks, and I forget who the defender was. Maybe it was Chris Anderson. They kind of went for a steal, and they missed it. So he turned around, he faced the basket, and he could have just taken one step and just dunked it. But instead of doing that, he just kind of lofted it and he missed it.
Yeah.
And I knew it was over at that point. And
yeah.
But you know, credit to the Bobcats for hanging in there and making it a little bit competitive for a while. But
yeah, they're good. They're not a joke at all. Jordan has the team at least headed in the right direction. They need a couple of players.
But no one can guard LeBron because they tried what's his name, Chris Douglas Roberts.
Yeah, they tried Chris Douglas Roberts.
And he's just too skinny. I mean, LeBron was killing him in the post.
So strong. So the Heat up 1-0, and the thought was, is Wade going to be okay? Are they going to have to limit his minutes? And 34 minutes, 23 points, 5 assists. He was okay.
And he was extremely efficient.
Yeah, he was very efficient. So, you know, all of a sudden, with the condition that the Pacers are in, the Heat now, that will be an interesting series if it even happens. You have to like the Heat in that series now. I find it very hard to believe the Pacers could manage to lose to the Hawks, a team that was,
I think they will.
A very, very ordinary team all year that was 8 games under 500 in the subpar conference that finished and worse in the second half of the season. I find it hard to believe that they're going to win that series. I still think that the Pacers will win that series, but we obviously have seen a significant vulnerability.
Did you watch the game 2 weeks ago?
Which game?
The game when the Hawks destroyed.
They blew them out, and they were talking about it yesterday. No, I didn't see it.
I watched that game. Actually, I didn't watch it, but I was following it on my feed, and they have real matchup problems because West and Hibbert just cannot guard Millsap and Antich, and those two guys are just lighting it up from outside, and it's making the Pacers really doubt who they are and how they should play that game. They have real matchup problems. Now, theoretically, when the Pacers have the ball, they should be able to just pound it inside and score easily. But, I mean, Jesus, Roy Hibbert's getting swatted by Kyle Korver multiple times in one game. That's pathetic. They can't score.
It's Kyle Korver. He's got ups. So, again, I bet on the Pacers on my theory that we spend in sports that we focus way too much on sort of what happened the last week of the season, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But of course, it's more than the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's really ever since they got Evan Turner, more or less. And something's obviously wrong with the Pacers. They're not in any way the same team. You know, and we were talking about it outside earlier. You know, the Blazers, who opened like something like 24-5, 26-5, and then went through about a 30-game stretch of being average to below average, and then kicked it back up in gear. I keep thinking, look, if they're good, you don't have the start the Pacers had by accident. Like, they'll figure it out, and I don't think they're going to not figure it out against the Hawks. Will they figure it out in time to make a championship run? I don't know. But as a Bullets/Wizards fan, like, you win that game 1 in Chicago, you're in that side of the bracket where you can avoid the Heat. I'm not saying the Wizards are going to beat the Heat. They play them very effectively, as well as anybody. You get excited a little, you know, you can't help it. So now I'm thinking, well, we beat the Bulls, we beat the Pacers. Forget beating the Heat. Go to the Eastern Conference Finals, win a game. I'd be beside myself with joy.
Well, that would be a tremendously successful season for the Wizards.
Yeah, it'd be thrilling for the city.
If they just win the series, I think that's already a win. If they win the next round, you're playing with house money.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean, look, because it seemed for so long that we were just sort of, the rest of the East was just spinning their wheels until we got to the Heat Pacers. I just wanted to play one of those teams in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Maybe put a scare into them, because you know how teams emerge. In the NBA, more than any other sport, it seems like you got to lose before you win. And I thought, if they win a series, I mean, they won 44 games this year. They seem to underachieve at 44 wins. Barkley all year thought the Wizards would be the 3 seed. So, you know, you put a scare into them, you add the right player in the offseason, and then you win 52 games and and everybody's having a great time.
Right.
So let's get to Barkley, because we're really talking about the Pacers here. And here's what Barkley said after the 101-93 loss to the Hawks. So this is Charles Barkley. "I've got to vent, America. I know it's early, but I've got to call out somebody, the Indiana Pacers. You guys," meaning the Pacers, "talk all that noise all year. We want home court. And then you come out Saturday night and play like dogs. You've got Larry Bird in your front office. You've got a terrific coach in Frank Vogel." Barkley goes on, "I'm an Indiana fan for everything y'all stand for. But to come out and play like fat wussies, and I'm only calling you wussies because I don't want to get the FCC mad at me. Come on, man. Come on, man. You're better than that. You're embarrassing Coach Vogel and the great Larry Bird." Charles Barkley on the Pacers.
I think he's actually a little bit too kind to Vogel. I think Vogel's part of the problem. And you know, whether Vogel is a great tactician, that's one thing. But he had, I don't know. I mean, the team does not look prepared.
They don't look prepared, yeah.
And I mean, in terms of being a tactician, you have to figure out a way to guard Atlanta's three-point shooting. They were not touching the three-point shooters at all. I mean, it was like watching three-point shooting practice. And lucky for them, Atlanta didn't go off from the perimeter. I think they went 11 for 30. But they were getting clean, open looks with no one even near them.
And as you know, as you pointed out, Hibbert against a perimeter-oriented big man, that's a matchup problem for you. That's not that when Hibbert makes a difference, he's patrolling the lane and preventing anybody from driving and getting a good shot up.
So Antic is pulling Hibbert out, and then Teague is just blowing past George Hill like George Hill doesn't exist. Yeah. By the way, George Hill has to get more of the blame. He's a point guard for the team who can't get assists and he can't score, and he's really bringing that team down.
And Jeff Teague is on what is not a good team, as always. Like I don't quite understand. Every time I see Jeff Teague, I'm always like, how's this guy not getting 20 and 10? And it's not. I mean, he's close and he's good, but he seems great every time I see him play.
Especially against the Pacers. He torches them.
He did. I mean, he had a couple blow-bys that resulted, and again, because Hibbert's not there, that were like layup line layups. Yeah. Like you'd go by him and they'd be like, oh, well, all right, I guess I'll just bank this off. There's no one between me and the baseline. No,
I felt like I was watching Kentucky basketball where they took only layups and threes. They took nothing in between. And I was thinking the score was close at halftime, and I was like, you know what? Once he starts hitting a couple of these threes, this thing's gonna get blown open. That's exactly what happened in the third quarter. By the way, Paul George really kind of fucked up that game at the end of the first half, because he had 2 free throws and just missed them for no reason.
See that, yeah.
And then he was way over dribbling. I mean, like the hot dog dribbling back and forth, and he just lost it. And then Atlanta had a run out and scored 2 points.
Yeah, so
it was a 4-point swing. They should have been up 6 going in, but instead it was a tie game.
Yeah, there are some times that they don't look like a team that could possibly have gone 56 and 26 and 35 and 6 and home. They haven't lost consecutive home games all year. I feel like they'll win game 2. I'm always curious in a situation like where you got to bring Hibbert out to guard Antic. What if you just don't? I know, like, okay. Well, I mean, okay, look, if he hits 3 threes, 4 threes, but I mean...
And he did.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
He hit 2 in the last game, and in the game where they got blown out, I think he hit like 3 or 4.
Yeah, and I guess for some reason, like, you just can't, it's the NBA, you can't play zone. Like, that can't, like, could they do that and leave Hibbert in? I don't know.
They can.
And look, if it's not what you do, then you can't change it and make them be a good zone team if it's not what you've done all year. Yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting. They will not lose to the Hawks, but they look vulnerable against the Bulls or the Wizards.
Their body language is so telling, because they're having a real difficult time scoring, and they get scoring in one of 2 ways. A very aggressive play by Lance Stevenson that results in a score. So he'll hit a 3, or he'll make a mad dash to the basket and get something in there. But the problem with Stevenson is that, at best, he's 1 out of 2. So, like, he'll give you one great play, and the next play is perplexing, mind-boggling, stupid play. And then everyone else in the Pacers, their body just slumps over, like, oh, he's fucking doing it again, right?
Yeah, and I'm curious, did that happen early in the year when the inevitability of the Heat Pacers Eastern?
I don't know. That's a
I
good
think they'll
question.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I love the scenario. Wizards got to beat the Bulls.
But if
I love the scenario.
But if Stevenson doesn't do that, they don't really score. And the other way they score is a deep Paul George three. But you can't live on those two
No, you
things.
can't live on those. Eventually,
Yeah.
you'll get exposed. But they didn't go 56 and 26 by accident, and that was with a lousy finish. So I feel like they'll solve it. I would love to see somebody beat them, but I think you're going to get the Pacers Heat Eastern Conference Finals anyway. But obviously, we just got intrigue thrown into it, which is nice to see.